Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We are going to start chapter 14 today. So let us first start with Mangalacharan prayers. Then we will start the discussion. I will share the screen. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, so we are going to start a new chapter today.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Chapter 14. So, chapter 14 is called the three modes of material nature, or Triguna Vibhaga Yoga, or Trigunya Vibhaga Yoga, the three modes of material nature. So, yeah, let me start with how this chapter connects with the 13th chapter. In the 13th chapter, the most important discussion that we had was about Paramatma and how the Paramatma is present everywhere and present in our bodies as well, along with our Jivatma, and is the overseer and permitter, the Upadrishta, overseer, and permitter, Anumanta. And by bhakti, one can understand all this knowledge. So this was a very important concept that was covered in the 13th chapter. Now, as I had mentioned, the 13th chapter all the way up to 18th chapter, half of the 18th chapter, because the second half of 18th chapter is the conclusion and the summarization of the most important topics of Bhagavad Gita. So that is second half of 18th chapter, but first half. So 13 to 18 and a half. Lord Krishna is covering Jnana Yoga, but this Jnana is mixed with Bhakti. So Jnana Mishra Bhakti, very strong emphasis on Bhakti. And that was evident in the 13th chapter as well, when Lord Krishna said that all this knowledge is obtained easily by those who are my Bhakta. So now one of the other things, so this was the main concept of chapter 13, but another concept of chapter 13 was how the Jiva gets entangled in the material world. And that was covered in 13.20, I believe. or 20, 21, and 22. Yeah, especially at 22. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus, he meets with good and evil among various species. So, karanam guna sangosya sad asad yonishu yoni janmashu. So that is the second line of 13.22. So I didn't start writing. So let me share this iPad screen and I will start showing you notes. Please let me know if the iPad screen is not visible. If it is visible, great. So one of the main concept, or one of the concepts of 13th chapter was how, or not how, but Jiva's cause of suffering and pleasure is its association with Prakriti, or Prakriti means material world. So this is explained in the 13th chapter, or is mentioned in the 13th chapter. A big part of the 14th chapter is how. How means, how is Jiva entangled in Prakriti? That is a key focus of 14th chapter. So this is the link from chapter 13 to chapter 14. Okay. However, the 14th chapter covers some very, very important concepts. This is just the link of 13 to 14. So what are the main concepts of chapter 14? Chapter 14 covers some immensely important concepts. So the main concepts of chapter 14. So I have a sort of a sections slide that I will show in just a minute. So there are three main sections in chapter 14. Okay. The first section is the, how should I say, the entanglement. I wouldn't say concepts. So I will remove the word concepts. I will say main sections. And later I will cover the concepts. Entanglement of the Jiva in the material world. Then effect of this entanglement on the Jiva. We can say effect, or we can also say consequences. Effect or consequences. And here comes the most important part, which I will put it in red color. Or I should say most important. The most important part is transcending the material world. Okay. So don't stay in the material world, but transcend it. Now, everywhere we have talked about this term, material world here. One thing that will be covered initially in the chapter is that this material world, the very core building block of the material world, the building blocks are, anybody can guess, not guess, but tell. What are the core building blocks of the material world? According to chapter 14, this question can be answered in several ways. All of them may be right. But at the most fundamental level, what are the building blocks of the material world? Anybody wants to take a shot?
All gunas.
Gunas.
Very nice. The gunas, what are also known as the material gunas. They are material. The gunas are always material in this context or in this terminology in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Guna means material gunas. And what are the three material gunas? Sattva,
Satrastam,
Rajas, and Tamas. So these are the three gunas. So we will see, and Lord Krishna will describe this nicely, how the material world is formed of the three gunas. So we can also say transcending. When I say here, the third topic is transcending the material world. In other words, we can also say transcending the three gunas or the three modes of material nature. Okay, so how to transcend? So that is the most important part of this chapter. But to transcend, the point is to transcend something. Transcend means what? Going beyond. That is the meaning of transcend. So going beyond the material modes. Why is it important to go beyond the material modes? So why should I transcend? Why should I transcend? And the answer to that is also given by the Lord, that all three modes, all three gunas, I will write, are binding. They bind us to the material world. Binding to what? You are bound to something, right? Like Lord Krishna was bound to the Okhli by Mother Yashoda. So you are bound to something, right? So bound to material world. Which means that even the sattva guna, this means even sattva guna is not enough for moksha or liberation. Even the sattva guna will keep us bound in the material world. So that is the one of the points to understand. Okay, so why should I transcend? Because all the three modes are binding, and of course we must try to go to sattva guna, but don't stay at sattva guna. Another, so now I am kind of going into some of the key points of, let us cover some of the key concepts of chapter 14. Now, there are many key concepts of chapter 14, several, but I will cover some which are important for our study. Okay. So, first, we must understand from chapter 13, we will again use the linking aspect, that Jiva's suffering and pleasure are due to its association in Prakriti. Okay, when Prakriti I say, it means material world or material nature or three gunas. So that is the starting point. Then we come to chapter 14. So in chapter 14, we start with how Jiva is entangled in Prakriti. So with entangled, we start with its origin and then continued entanglement. Okay, so how Jiva is entangled means how it originated into the Prakriti and how it continues to be entangled. And then we cover the three primary, or we can say fundamental. When I say fundamental, it means at the root level. Like in chemistry, we say that at the absolute root level, what is the building block of matter? An atom, isn't it? And we have the periodic table with elements. Chemistry doesn't go beyond elements. It stays at an element level. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, and so on. I forgot what is there after lithium. Number 4. 5, I also don't remember. 6 is carbon, I think. Yes. So anyway, barium, my wife tells me. So, yeah. So similarly, and at a physics level, then you go into physics level, the fundamental building blocks are, you can say, protons, electrons, neutrons. Now physicists have discovered even more beyond that, quarks, and so on, right? So those are the fundamental building blocks. I'm just trying to explain how to think about when I say the word primary or fundamental building blocks. So the three primary building, or the most fundamental at the root level building blocks of Prakriti are the three gunas, which we already called sattva, rajas, and tamas. So we will see that these are the three fundamental building blocks of nature, and how Jiva gets conditioned, we can say, or gets colored, gets influenced. You understand? Colored, like if you stay with toxic people who always are doing, toxic discussions, criticizing others, or, just bad kind of discussions, you get influenced by them. We can say you get colored. In Hindi, we say, unke rang mein rang gaya hai. Isn't it? So it means you get colored by their nature. So colored or influenced, how Jiva gets influenced by the three gunas. And then how the Jiva gets more and more influenced. So he starts getting influenced and he becomes more and more influenced by the three gunas. And then what happens to the Jiva? His destination, the direction where he goes on in life, direction of life, not just in a given body, but across multiple bodies. The consequences, results, all these things are what happens to the Jiva, how he moves along in his journey. We can think of it like journey of life of the Jiva. So that is described in some and in some level of detail. So this whole thing is described, some of the what happens to the jiva. So destination, direction, we can also say behavior, symptoms, all these things are there. Now, a very, very important point is, so I'm assuming no one here on the call today is self-realized or has attained moksha, correct? Anybody like that? Now, if anybody, by the way, is like that, he will never claim. He will always claim, I am not. That is the nature of humility of a self-realized soul. So, assuming all of us are in the material world, we are all conditioned. What this helps us, what is the practical use of this? The practical use of all this behavior and symptoms especially is to help us to identify our prominent guna. Where are we? Are we more sattvic? Are we more rajasic? Or are we more tamasic? Okay. So that we can identify where we are. You need to know where you are so that you can move ahead. And then the inspiration to move ahead. So from tamasic to rajasic to sattvic, wherever one is. Now, our acharyas and Srila Prabhupada many times have said that 99% of today's world population is in the rajasic guna, in the mode of passion. So once we identify where we are or how much rajasic, how much passion, in the mode of passion we are, the inspiration should be to move towards the mode of goodness. Okay. I'm giving an overview of chapter 14 and how to understand chapter 14. We will go through all the verses, but it's very important for you to understand why chapter 14 is important in our life and how to use it practically in our life as well. And some of the main points that are being covered. So our journey should be like this. It should go from rajasic to sattvic side. Okay. And then one should not stay. So another important, so again, like we are discussing the concepts, right? So Jiva is entangled in Prakriti due to its sattvic, rajasic or tamasic nature, how it gets more and more influenced by association. Identify where you are and try to go towards the sattvic side. So that is what we have covered so far. Another important point is do not stay in mode of sattva or mode of goodness. Do not stay there. That is not the end goal. That is the intermediate goal. Because since is represented like this, since sattva guna is also binding. Binding means to the material world. And also we will see, very important point, that this sattva guna binding, not only is it binding, there is risk of falling back into rajasic nature or the mode of passion. So it takes a lot of effort to stay in the sattvic mode or sattva guna. So do not stay in the mode of sattva or the sattvic guna, but what you should do instead, by Krishna bhakti, transcend. So here is the essence, or the sort of the secret as in like a open secret, or the, the key, the kunji, as we say in Hindi, kunji, or the most important concept. By Krishna bhakti, transcend the mode of goodness and attain Vaikuntha. Okay. So that is the essence of that. By Krishna bhakti, we must transcend the mode of goodness. We should not stay in the mode of goodness. And a side point is that mode of goodness is the best platform for Krishna bhakti. To perform bhakti, it is very, very potent. It is very, very powerful if your nature is also in the mode of goodness. It is very hard to perform Krishna bhakti, almost impossible if one is very much in the mode of passion, and even harder if one is in the mode of ignorance or tamasic nature. So if you are going around and abusing people or doing bad things, and then 2 hours in a day, if you are doing bhakti, that doesn't work usually. Now, people may take some very exceptional examples. Okay, like Valmiki Rishi. He was killing animals and then he became a great bhakta. So don't make exception the rule. That is always the case. Always remember this rule, that exceptions are not the rule. You are not going to, do not bet on you being the exception. The odds are against you heavily for you to be that exception like Valmiki Rishi. And see what Valmiki Rishi, or whom he had to meet for that immediate or instant transformation to happen. Who did he have to meet?
Naradji.
Narad Muni. Yes. So yes, Narad Muni, if he appears, he has so much power. Power as in not like tantric power, but so much power of bhakti. He has so much power given to him by Bhagawan Krishna that he, even if he touches a complete sinner, that sinner can become a bhakta. But what are the chances that you will be touched on your head or you will be met by Narad Muni? Isn't it? So one must also consider what happened to that sinner like Valmiki Muni before he became a bhakta. So don't bet on such things happening. So the best way to transcend or to do Krishna bhakti is to be in the mode of goodness. Be a good person. But another important point is, don't wait to become a good person. I will say fully. Oh, now I am fully in the mode of goodness. I am fully in sattva guna. And to start Krishna bhakti, do not. This is a very important point. Oh, right now I'm focusing on becoming a good person. Bhakti I will do 10 years later, after I have fully become a good person and I have got a certificate from Param Karuna Das that, now you are a good person. Now I will start bhakti from 1st January 2032. Not like that. Start it simultaneously. Start both simultaneously. What both? A, progressing more and more in mode of goodness. And B, Krishna Bhakti. Start both simultaneously. Whatever you identify your weakness as, start working on it. Acknowledge to yourself, acknowledge to Bhagawan Krishna, to your guru, whoever you may have accepted in your mind or officially or unofficially as your guide, mentor, guru, whoever. I have started to make progress. I am seriously trying to make progress. Evaluate monthly, weekly, where you are. Continue to make progress in the mode of goodness and simultaneously start Krishna Bhakti. And both of these will help each other. It will support the virtuous cycle. It's a virtuous cycle. One enhances the other. The more you do Krishna Bhakti, the more you will be inspired to be a good person. The more good person you are, you will be able to do more serious and sincere and steady Bhakti, the S cubed Bhakti. Remember, S cubed stands for serious, sincere, and steady. What is the meaning of these three things? Serious means that doing it very seriously, following as many of the rules of bhakti as possible, slowly increasing. So that is serious, doing it seriously. Sincerely means doing it from the heart, not just external austerity, but there is sincerity in the heart and externally also. So serious means today, if you are doing 2 rounds of japa, then after 3 months or 2 months, you increase it to 4. And like that, you become serious. You don't stay at one level. You say, okay, I can only do this much. Rest of the time, I will do Netflix. Not like that. Sincere means from the heart, not externally. And steady means continuous. Okay, not like New Year resolutions. They only go from 1st January to 31st January. 1st February onwards, it is gone. Then you have to wait for next year, January. So not like that, but continuous. You follow? So start both simultaneously. So these are some of the key concepts of chapter 14. So should we quickly do a quick revision? So with this, I have almost told you what is there in 14th chapter. Of course, minus the details. And there are some very important other side key concepts, very important, which we will cover, but they don't follow in this storyline. So this is the storyline of chapter 14, how the chapter 14 is practically applicable and how it fits into the whole narrative that I have described. There are at least 2 very important key concepts that I have not mentioned, which we will discover. So I will just give you, there's nothing secret about it. The first one is the Darwinian evolution is refuted. And the second point is that Krishna, Bhagawan, the Bhagawan aspect is greater than Brahman. So these 2 aspects, they don't fully fit into the sort of the narrative that I explained, but they are extremely important concepts which are occurring in 14th chapter. So we will cover these as well as we go along. This is refuted in 14.4, and this is mentioned in 14, the last verse, 14.27. Just for those who are interested, and when we get, we will discuss. So quick revision of the key concepts. This is where how 14th chapter is important, how it fits into our life. That Jiva is suffering because of its presence in the material world, in Prakriti. There it starts, our suffering and our pleasure, mainly suffering, isn't it? And that is why you are all in the Bhagavad Gita course. If you are very, very happy, very, everything is going great, many people are like that. They are less inclined to spiritual topics. Again, 2.44 is a very important verse which demonstrates or asserts that in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam Taya Aprita Chetasam Vivyasayatmika Buddhi Samadhav Na Vidhiyate. That Bhoga Aishwarya Prasaktanam, who are full of Bhoga and Aishwarya, Samadhav Na Vidhiyate. They are not inclined towards Samadhi or spiritual progress, what it means. Okay. So, mainly suffering, people who have some kind of problems, they come to God. That is also established in 7.16 also. Artha, Artharthi. Two types of people come to Krishna. Another two are also there, Jigyasu and Jnani. But Artha and Artharthi, one who wants something or one who wants to get rid of something. So all it is to do with some kind of suffering or some kind of, desires, unmet, unfulfilled desires. So how this Jiva is entangled, how the Jiva finds its place in Prakriti and its continued entanglement in Prakriti, which is nothing but the three gunas. They are the fundamental building blocks of Prakriti. And then the Jiva gets colored or influenced by the three gunas and gets more and more tied up like a cocoon. It keeps getting tied up in its own web. And then Lord Krishna describes the behavior, the symptoms, the destination, all this of the Jiva. Using this, we can help to identify our guna and get the inspiration to go from rajasic to sattvic. Again, I'm assuming there is nobody in the tamasic mode here. You are all good people living a legal, good life. So, rajasic mainly, and maybe many are in the sattvic mode. But then Bhagavad Gita goes on to say, do not stay in the mode of goodness because it is also binding. And you risk falling back very quickly. Very quickly you risk falling back. Instead, by Krishna Bhakti, transcend the modes and attain Vaikuntha. And mode of goodness is the best platform for Krishna Bhakti. Don't make exception the rule. Even if you have seen in scriptures or heard in scriptures that somebody was very much in tamasic mode or rajasic mode, usually by the contact of some very, very, very pure devotee, very pure, they may very quickly come to the mode of goodness. They will definitely come to mode of goodness. Like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this story of kya hai wo?
Jagai and Mathai.
No, not that one. Mrgrari. He is another, just like same story like Valmiki Muni. Mrgrari Brahman, not Brahman, hunter. Mrgrari, it is called. Mriga means deer. Ari means enemy, isn't it? So Mrgrari means he's an enemy of the deers, which means he used to kill the animals. And then Narad Muni, same way, he came in contact with Narad Muni and immediately became a pure devotee of Bhagawan, very immediately, instantly, to the extent that he would, even while walking, he would look, am I stepping on any ant? So he would, clear the way of any ants as he would walk on the road so that he would not even kill an ant. The point being that it is not that one stays as a tamasic or a rajasic person. The only question is, please pay attention, the only question is how quick the transformation is. The transform bhakti and sattva guna, mode of goodness go hand in hand. You will never find a bhakta who is tamasic or rajasic. The transformation may happen very quickly. That depends on how pure devotee you come in contact with. Okay? So don't think, oh, he was tamasic and he became devotee. No, there is no example that I can recall in the Shastra where at heart one is tamasic or rajasic, but also in reality is a Shuddha Bhakta, a pure devotee. So the point is, don't stay in the sattvic, tamasic or rajasic mode. Come to the mode of goodness, because it is the absolute best platform for Krishna Bhakti. And then do Krishna Bhakti, the progress will be fast, very fast. And another point which I am adding out of these examples that is not in the chapter, associate with pure devotee. Association is very important. Just like we associate with material nature, we become materialistic. Association of pure devotees. And another very, very nice example is Srila Prabhupada. He went to America, and all these people who were taking drugs and alcohol and all, Srila Prabhupada very quickly, not as quickly as Narad Muni, which happened in 1 second, but very quickly in a matter of few weeks or months, those people who were doing all kind of, they were in tamasic mode, not even rajasic, tamasic, came to the mode of goodness, became very nice people. One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, okay, your followers are wearing all these saffron clothes, and shaved their head and have like a shikha, put this tilak, all this thing is there, but that is external. How do I identify your actual disciples, your actual followers, except other than your external features? I can also, some reporter was asking, I can also wear a saffron cloth and, do all these things, but I will not be your follower. Srila Prabhupada said, you will find my followers to be perfect gentlemen. That was his answer to that person. Of course, that reporter would not understand mode of goodness and all those terminology. Srila Prabhupada translated that into very simple terms called perfect gentlemen. Okay. So the transformation in association of Srila Prabhupada happened very quickly for those people. So so that was the point. Mode of goodness is the best platform for Krishna Bhakti. Don't wait to become a good devotee. Oh, from 2032 or 2033, 10 years later, we will start doing bhakti. Till then, I will only focus on becoming a perfect gentleman. So not like that. Start both simultaneously, and it forms a virtuous cycle. One helps the other. So that is what we covered so far. This was a very quick overview of 14th chapter. All right. Now we will start with verse by verse. So 45 minutes we spent. It is 6:45. In 45 minutes, we did an overview of what to expect in chapter 14, plus a few other points. Now, as I was speaking, I'm sorry, but some people had raised their hands. At this point, if you have any questions, we can take. Prasoon Prabhu, I saw you had raised your hand, but did it get answered, or did you want to ask later? Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, we will wait and see if there are questions later.
I don't have questions, but I would like to say I was living nearby Mountsville, West Virginia, where there is a golden temple for Prabhupada, and it's a nice, fabulous location indeed. Mountsville, West Virginia.
Yes, I know about that. I have not been there myself. My family members have been there. I couldn't go. Yes, I know. It's called the Golden Temple. Very nice. I think
Yes.
the point you are making of relevance here is that a serene location also contributes to one's mode of goodness. If you are living in New York City, for example, or Bombay or something, where, early in the morning, you are in a race. First, you are in a race to get ready and get out. Then you are in a race to get into the train. Then, if you miss the 7:21 train, then you have to wait till 7:27. And, you are, it's like that whole environment and that whole situation, creates that it forces some level of rajasic nature, passion on you. Whereas living in harmony with nature and all automatically forces some level of goodness or sattvic nature on you. So yes, those are very nice points and we must use those. But above all, above everything is Krishna Bhakti. Krishna Bhakti can be done in New York City as well, as nicely as in the forest. In fact, Srila Prabhupada started his whole movement from New York City. And there were so many devotees in New York City. And till today, there are the New York Temple and the devotees are doing the most seva by distributing books, by singing and spreading the name, the holy name, and all those things right in the middle of New York City. Very, very nice. Even though that can be called as the kingdom or the capital of rajasic nature of the material world. So Krishna Bhakti can wipe away all the modes of nature if done in a S-cubed way, sincere, serious, and steady. Anything else?
Yeah, so I have one question.
Yes.
A king is first an administrator. So we would classify him basically as a totally rajasic, or not totally, but predominantly rajasic person.
Mm-hmm.
In that context, kings like Raja Janaka, who were very pious and had a lot of sattvic qualities. So how will we rate them? Because they were rajasic at the same time.
So they were Kshatriya, but it does not mean that Kshatriya nature has to be rajasic. Okay, so don't mix those two things.
Okay.
So following the codes or the law according or without deviating from the law. So if a criminal has committed some crime, then punishing the criminal or according to the law does not necessarily mean at all that you are being or one is being rajasic. Rajasic is a mode of nature. Even a person who is a Brahman could be very rajasic, or a Shudra could be very sattvic. So
just like Chanakya, he was a Brahmin, but he was so much a political figure.
Yeah, I don't know much about Chanakya beyond seeing the serial Chanakya, which was very nicely produced. I liked it very much, but yeah, probably. But I don't know much about the Okay. So yeah. Just like, for example, in today's world, we can see that our acharyas, some of our previous acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, or even present day devotees, they may be involved in their day-to-day work. For example, you might have heard the name of Alfred Ford. He is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He is the great grandson of Henry Ford, who started the Ford company. His name is Ambarish Das. And he is doing immense, phenomenal amount of seva for Srila Prabhupada's mission. But he is at the same time doing his whatever, running the Ford company or whatever part of it, or what, I don't know exactly what all he's doing. But at some point of time, he was one of the owners or one of the partners in the Ford Motor Company. Very, very big, one of the topmost companies in the world. So he was doing that, and hopefully he was being a very in the mode of goodness as well. So mode of goodness does not mean being Brahmanical. Brahmanical means always very kind and compassionate and forgiving. But Kshatriya means if somebody is has done something wrong, you have to award the according punishment. That does not come in the way of being in the mode of goodness.
Got it.
Okay, very good. So assuming there is nothing else, let us start with the discussion on the various verse by verse discussion of chapter number 14. So we will go a little fast. I have covered the essence of chapter 14 anyway. In the new Bhagavad Gita course that we are starting in January, which is a fast-paced course, I would give a small version, for example, of the chapter overview and cover some of those key concepts through the pertinent verses. So in a 2-hour class, we would complete chapter 14 in this way, just to give you a sense. So I have given you an expanded version of the overview in about 45 to 50 minutes. Plus, we will spend today and the next week and complete chapter 14. We'll go a little fast through the verses. Okay, so let me share with you the breakup of the chapter. Let's see how best to do this. I don't want to switch. Give me 1 second. Let me figure out one thing. Just 1 second. I'm not getting somehow the latest copy that I modified. That's my problem. Okay. Okay, never mind. I'll just use my. That's a little surprising. So I'll just use my laptop here. Okay, so chapter 14. I hope you can see the screen. So, like I said, there are 3 main sections in chapter 14. The first section is 1 to 13, containing the conditioning or entanglement of the soul by the 3 material modes. And in the first 2 verses, Lord Krishna is glorifying this pure knowledge about mode of goodness and unbroken bhakti. So Lord Krishna says that in the chapter 14, he starts off by saying that this is the topmost knowledge, what you are going to hear from me. And then the next several verses, so as I will go through the verses, we will go and look at this sort of section breakup and see where we are at that present time. So just focus on the first 2 verses where Lord Krishna is glorifying this pure knowledge. So I will stop this sharing and start the iPad sharing. That's what I was trying to avoid. Okay. So verse number 14.1 and 14.2 is the glory of chapter 14, knowledge. Okay. So please have your Bhagavad Gita with you. Please follow along as we go through the verses. Text 1. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Param Bhuyah Pravakshyami Jnananam Jnanamuttamam Yad Gyatva Munayah Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gatah. So what is the meaning? Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Lord Krishna starts speaking, chapter 14, Bhagavad Gita. Param Bhuyah Pravakshyami. So Bhuyah is a very, very important word. So 14.1. Bhuyah. Bhuyah means what? Again. So Param Bhuyah Pravakshyami. Next line is Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. Jnananam means among all the jnanas, among all the body of knowledge, Jnanam Uttamam. This is the most topmost, Uttamam. And this is Param. Param means it is transcendental. It is the topmost knowledge. So, Bhuyah Pravakshyami. I am again telling you. What does it mean? That it has already been told. So what it means is that it is not something new that Lord Krishna is going to tell, because in the previous chapters, like for example, in 9.2, he called this Raja Vidya. It is the king of knowledge. Then in the beginning of chapter 10 also, Lord Krishna says that what I am telling you is Bhuya eva Mahabaho Shrinu me Paramam Vachaha. So 10.1. Also again, then he says the word Bhuyaha, and then he says Paramam Vachaha. So when he says Bhuyaha in 10.1, he is referring to again. So ninth chapter is the topmost knowledge. So please don't confuse or get confused that 10th chapter is more important than 9, or the knowledge of 10th chapter supersedes the knowledge of chapter 9. Chapter 9 is the essence of Bhakti Yoga, and that is the topmost. So therefore, the word Bhuya is being used here when Lord Krishna is saying, Bhuya eva Mahabaho Shrinu me Paramam Vachaha. And again, he is saying, Param Bhuyaha Pravakshami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam. So it is again, it has already been told in chapter 7 and 9, both, and 8 also. 7, 8, 9 are the core chapters of Bhakti Yoga. So again, Lord Krishna is telling, but he is now mixing the jnana aspect to it as to how the jiva gets entangled in Prakriti. So that is it's a more detailed, it's a very different angle to help the devotee to get out of this entanglement. And that is what Lord Krishna is telling in the 14th chapter. Jnananam jnanam uttamam yad gyatva munayah sarve. That knowing all this, knowing this knowledge, yad gyatva munayah, all the sages, all the rishis, sarve, all of them, param siddhim ito gata, they went to param siddhi. Param siddhi means going to Vaikuntha. So that is the meaning of verse number 1. The translation by Srila Prabhupada is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, again, that's the most important word, where people get confused. So many times people ask me, oh, which is more important, the knowledge of chapter 14 or the knowledge of chapter 9? They miss this point, what I just explained. Again, I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. So that is 14.1. 14.2. Okay. So it saying that this jnana, the main focus is this jnana leads to liberation. That was also mentioned in the previous line, that Param Siddhim, he goes to the Param Siddhi, but liberation means he does not take birth or death. So that is being mentioned here. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agatah sarge api na upajayante pralaye na vyathanti cha. So the meaning is that idam jnanam upashritya. So the word upashritya is also important. I'll just write it like this. Upashritya. So idam jnanam upashritya. See, this kind of word would not have been present in the first 6 chapters. Upashritya, the essence or the root within that is ashraya. Upa ashraya, upa ashritya, which means take shelter. So this knowledge is not something that you extract, you squeeze out of the scriptures, like by your own power. I will figure it out. Not like that. The mood in which to obtain this knowledge is by taking shelter, and our acharyas explain, is by taking shelter of a guru. So that is very important. Under the guidance of a qualified, bona fide guru, we understand this knowledge. Upashritya. So I wanted to mention that word is important in this verse. Idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmyam agatah. He takes my nature. One who studies this knowledge very nicely and is successful, he takes my nature. He attains my nature, which means he comes to me. Sarge api na upajayante pralaye na vyathanti cha. So sarga and pralaya. Sorry, kindly mute yourself. Sarga means creation. Pralaya means destruction. So creation of the universe. That's what it means, and destruction of the universe. So this we referred to in chapter 8. That after Brahma dies, Brahmaji also has a life. And when the life of Brahmaji is over, his universe, there are many thousands and millions and trillions of universes. Mahavishnu is breathing in and breathing out universes from his the various pores, the various pores of his body. So there are as many universes in the material creation, it is said in the Shastra, as there are bubbles in the ocean. How many bubbles are there in the ocean? Countless. So each universe has its own Brahma, and that Brahma has a life, birth and death. So that is the time of creation of the universe, and that is when he dies, that is the destruction of the universe. Also, every day of Brahma, there is a partial destruction at the night, and then there is recreation in the day of Brahma. So during this partial destruction or full destruction, when Brahmaji dies, the Jivas go into the body of Mahavishnu, and then they come out of the body of Mahavishnu into some other universe. So it is not that when Brahmaji is finished, when his life is over, the Jivas in that universe automatically go to Vaikuntha. There is no free ticket. You go into the body of Mahavishnu and then you come back into material world. The only way to go to Vaikuntha is by spiritual progress, by the processes of Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, or the best is Bhakti Yoga. That is the only way to go to spiritual world. Otherwise, one stays in the material world. So what is being said here is that during this sarga or creation or pralaya, during destruction, the jiva comes into the material world and then goes out of the material world, again comes into the material world, again goes out of the material world. This cycle keeps going. But those who have idam jnanam upashritya mama sadharmam agataha, those who have done that, they do not have to go through this cycle of coming into the material world, going back into the body of Mahavishnu, coming back into the material world. This whole cycle of sarga pralaya, they don't have to go along with it. So that is the meaning of this verse. So Srila Prabhupada's translation is, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature like my Om. Mama sadharmyam agatah. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation or disturbed at the time of dissolution. Clear? Right? Just like I have explained. Okay. Now comes a very nice verse, 14.3. 14.3 is talking about the, like I mentioned, origin of the Jiva in material world. Okay. So like I mentioned, the Jiva is in the, when there is destruction of the material world or a given universe. Material world is eternal. The material world, when I say material world, it is all the universes. So the material world is eternal. It is called as anadi. There is no beginning. So, but in a given universe, the Jiva enters through from the body of Mahavishnu, where it was staying dormant. That topic was covered in chapter 8 already. So here what is being said, at the time of creation, by the potency of Lord Krishna, Mahavishnu is an expansion of Lord Krishna, the Jiva is injected into the material world. Bhagawan Krishna injects the Jiva into the material world. Okay, so he is the yeah. So let us see verse number 3, and you will understand more. Mama yonir mahad brahma tasmin garbham dadhami aham sambhavah sarva bhutanam tato bhavati bharata. So mama yoni mahad brahma, that this mahad brahma is an important word. Mahad brahma, it is referring to the material world. Okay, and Lord Krishna is saying, this is my yoni, this Mahad Brahma or this material world is my yoni, or which means it is my, I should say it with a capital letter because it is referring to Lord Krishna. My yoni, which means my womb. Okay. And in that womb, tasmin garbham dadhamyaham, I inject the jivas. Dadhami aham, I create or I inject the jivas. Sambhavaha sarva bhutanam, all the living entities come into existence, or sambhav means to become possible. So they come into existence in this way. By me injecting dadhamyaham, I put these jivas into the material world, because the material world is like the womb, and in the next verse he will say, I am the seed giving father. Okay, tato bhavati bharata. So like this, the sambhavah sarva bhutanam tato bhavati, all the living entities come into existence in this way. So this Mahad Brahma means material world or material nature. So this is known as Mahad Brahma. This Mahad Brahma is not equal to Brahman or Brahma Jyoti, which is completely spiritual. This is completely spiritual. This is the spiritual effulgence from Krishna. Okay. So this is not that same as the spiritual Brahman. This is Mahad Brahman, which is basically the material world. And that we have to understand by that Mahad tag or that Mahad attribute that has been associated with Brahma. Okay, so what is being said here is Mahad Brahma, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma, Tasmin Garbham Dadamyaham Sambhava Sarvabhutanam Tato Bhavati Bharata. The translation given by Srila Prabhupada is, the total material substance called Brahman, that is the Mahad Brahman, is the source of birth, Mama Yonir. And it is that Brahman that I impregnate, Dadamyaham, I impregnate that Brahman, making possible, this is the Sambhavaha of the births of all living beings. Sarva Bhutanam Tato Bhavati. So, making possible the birth of all living beings, O son of Bharata. Clear? So, Lord Krishna is, the essence is, Lord Krishna, he says, Aham, right? Dadamyaham. Lord Krishna injects, we can say, I'm just using that word, or impregnates the material world, which is the womb of Lord Krishna, with the Jivas. That is the sort of a simplified understanding of 14.3 simplified. Okay, Lord Krishna injects or impregnates the material world or the womb, Mama Yoni, which is his womb, everything belongs to Krishna, with the Jivas. Okay, so 14.3. Now 14.4. So in 14.4, what is being said? Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtayah sambhavantiyah tamsam brahma mahadyonir aham bija pradah pita. So very important verse. Sarva yonishu kaunteya. That sarva yonishu. Now here the word yoni means the various species of life. Sarva yonishu kaunteya. Kaunteya is another name for Arjuna. So my dear Arjuna, sarva yonishu, all these species, murtayah sambhavantiyah, that which you see, which are appearing in the material world. Murtayah means various forms. There are animals, there are birds, there are fish, there are trees, there are human beings, there are monkeys, all those murtaya, the various murtis, the various forms, sambhavantiyah, that are there in this material world. Tamsam Brahma Mahadyonir, that are present in the Mahadyonir, that are present in this material world. I am the Aham Bija Pradah Pita. I am the seed giving father. Bija Pradah. I give that seed. Pita. Father gives the seed, isn't it? You all know father gives the seed and the baby is born, isn't it? So please tell me one thing. So now we come to this topic of, so the translation given here by Srila Prabhupada is, it should be understood that all the species of life, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, so it should be understood that all species of life, Sarva Yonishu, O son of Kunti, Kaunteya, are made possible by birth in this material nature, Sambhavanti, in this Brahma Mahad Yonir, that are made possible, Sambhavanti, in this material world, in this Mahad Brahma. And I am the seed-giving father. Aham Bija Pradah Pita. So the first three lines we kind of covered in the previous verse also. That Lord is injecting all these various species, all the jivas, that was covered in 14.3. In 14.4, that jivas is being expanded into all forms of life, all forms or species of life. So this was 14.3, and that thought is being expanded that thought is expanded into all forms of life in 14.4. That is one point. That is one unique aspect of 14.4 compared to 14.3. And the other unique point is that Krishna is the direct father of all jivas. Direct father. Direct father means that is why bija pradah pita. I am the bija pradah pita. It is not like he is the grandfather or he is the one who started the dynasty. He is the direct father. That is what is being said. Now, what it means. So, especially Srila Prabhupada has made a lot of comments using this verse as a refutation of the Darwin Evolution Model. What is the Darwin Evolution Model? That from some single-celled amoeba or some single-celled organism, there was evolution, some, bacteria or multi-cell animals happened, then some fish or amphibians happened, and then they came to land, then some, mammals happened. Finally, you got some monkeys and apes, and then humans. So at a general level, this is how evolution, Darwinistic evolution is described. So basically, like a general statement is, oh, humans came from monkeys or from apes. You might have heard that in school. You might have heard that everywhere. So we can say ape is our father. So these species are evolving. This is evolution. Okay. Now, some scientists, one of the questions that is asked, okay, where did the single-celled, this one, where did this come from? That there is no clear answer. By the way, there is no much clear answer even to this. This also is not very clear. This is just a very, very weak hypothesis in science. And we can have a long discussion about it. I don't want to spend the next 1 hour talking about that. So, but even weaker in the scientific understanding is this first step. How did this come into being? And the best answer that is available, which we had, I think, discussed earlier, comes from the fact that it comes from matter. Matter converted into a single-celled organism. And this I remember we discussed somewhere in chapter 7 discussion that there was this famous Stanley Miller experiment, where basically it was shown that from matter, by some electrical activity, you can get some proteins. From proteins, you can get DNA, and from DNA, you can get a cell, and so on. This is what was experimentally shown. But this part is just a theoretical and hypothetical extrapolation. Okay, so you showed the first step. Okay, from matter you can get some, not even protein. What you got was some what are they called, amino acids, not even proteins, amino acids. And from acids, amino acids, you can get protein. From that, you can get some more complex molecules like DNA. And from that, you can have a single-celled organism. So this is very, very theoretical and hypothetical extrapolation of the theory, of the experimental result. So the point being that it is still very weak as to how did the single-celled organism come into being. Okay. Many scientists, or at least half the scientists, or I don't know percentage, 20, 30%, may say, okay, we can put God here. The single-celled organism came from God. We agree. So all the Christians, Hindus, all whoever believe in whatever this God created life, they are happy. From here, rest of it is science. And that too science without God. Thank you for God for giving us the single-celled organism. Now we are good. We don't need God anymore. We will take over. Science will take over. And it has a perfect explanation of how the rest of evolution occurred, thanks to Mr. Charles Darwin. That is what one of the group of scientists may say. Are you following? Are you all with me? Some of you can nod your head or disagree. Okay. So they can put God over here. And they say, rest, there is no God. Many people don't even put God here, by the way, many scientists. But some may put. What 14.4 is saying is different. 14.4 is saying something entirely different, that from Krishna, Sarva yonishu kaunteya, aham bija pradah pita. What it means? It doesn't mean that I am the seed-giving father of one yonishu, one species only. That is not what Krishna is saying, isn't it? He didn't say in 14.4, I am the seed-giving father of the amoeba, of the single-celled organism. He did not say that. On the contrary, he says what? Of how many species is he the seed-giving or the direct father? How many? Anybody?
All.
All of them. Thank you. All of them.
All in parallel. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the...
No series.
There is no series. So there is amoeba here. There is fish here. There is whatever amphibian or lizard or whatever you can say, lizard. And there is a mammal. And there is cat and dog and apes and humans. And all of them. And he is the direct father. Bija pradah pita. He's the direct father. He is not the, somewhere in the beginning of the chain. And then everything is happening as per Darwin. That is not what Krishna is saying. Krishna is saying, Bija pradah pita. I am the seed-giving father for Sarva yonishu kaunteya. So this verse is a very strong refutation of Darwinian evolution. Okay, so that is one point. So those who are, again, please, this is another important point, very important point. And I know that Shyamlila Mataji is somewhere here.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm here.
Very nice. So this is something you need to note down as a separate concept in your marking. She's doing a very nice help to us by marking some of the or of these videos. So this is a very important point as a separate concept. Please note it down, all of you. Do not go and pick up fight with people. Oh, Bhagavad Gita says Darwinism is wrong. Yes, we know that it is wrong. But don't just go and volunteer yourself into an argument, because then it will be a he said, she said, tu tu main main, as we say in Hindi. You will say something, they will say something, you will say something, they will say something. You can, and both of you will ultimately end up fighting. The goal of convincing the other person will not be achieved. So if you want to fight, fine, you can use this as a fighting point. Just like many other people, they need some reason to fight. We don't, have any shortage of reasons for fighting, and you can very well use this as a reason to fight one more fight. And whether you win or lose is, in God's hands, or is in the hands of how powerful your opponent is. If he's a professor of biology, he may very well defeat you by his arguments, and you may not be strong enough. So don't go and fight with people. But if somebody is already having faith in the words of Krishna, and he is scientifically oriented, he's studied science in his students, just like all of you and myself, but they're favorable, then they can understand, yes, this is exactly what Bhagavan Krishna is saying. And with faith, they can take this statement at face value. Okay. Now, there are some scientists who have done a lot of research, tremendous amount of research in this area of Darwinism. Even Christian scientists, I forget the name of the author. There is one author, maybe Prasoon Prabhu can remind me. He was having a discussion with me on this. What's the name? I can send it later. He has a Christian author, not Christian, but he has basically nothing to do with Vedic literature or Shastra or anything like that. Western person. There also they have very strong opposition to Darwinian evolution, because they also believe that God created man. In Bible also it is said that, man, God created all kind of life forms, and man and every other life form is created by God. So they also have a lot of problem with this Darwinian theory. And this whole theory is called as ID. That is the name of the theory. The expansion of that is intelligent design. Or another name for this is creationism. So what it means is that there is an intelligent designer who has created all these things. Okay. They didn't come by chance, or they didn't come from one another by random mutations or by natural selection, or random mutations, and then the favored ones survive through the process of natural selection. There is intelligent design that is there. So if you Google for this intelligent design or creationism, both means that there is a creator. It's not, it didn't happen from matter by accident, and then the whole process is continuing by accident. The whole Darwinian theory, this whole evolution theory depends on chance, which is random mutations, and then natural selection. There are multiple random mutations happen. One of them survives, other die out. The other mutations die out because they are not fit enough to survive. So chance or random mutations plus natural selection. That is the sort of the foundation pillar of Darwinian evolution. Whereas intelligent design is the opposite of random mutations. It is intelligent design. I am intelligently designing each one of them. So God is intelligently designing the fish suitable to live in water. So fish need to live in water, or God wants the fish to live in water. So God has not given lungs like us, which can breathe air, but a different kind of organ which can, absorb through the fins the water and get the oxygen from there. Or to swim, we don't have swimming fins, we have legs to walk, things like that. So earthworms can live under the earth. We cannot live under the earth. They can live under the earth. The birds can fly, so they have different type of body. And so there's all kind of intelligent design, just like we design stuff. We can design a ship or a submarine which can go under the water. We can design an aeroplane which can go in the air. And all these things we also know. But there are intelligent people, engineers and scientists who are designing those things. They didn't come about on their own. So there is a lot of debate, a lot of controversy, but do not go pick up a fight with people that Bhagavad Gita is right and all. You will leave a bad taste in the mouth of those people or in the mind of those people about Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of this whole chapter, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to become a good person. And a good person does not undertake unnecessary arguments. But if somebody is favorable, if somebody is genuinely asking a question, if you have a good relationship with someone, he's your very close friend, and he's asking a question, then you can explain, this is what is there in Bhagavad Gita. And you should always add, I don't know much about it. I am not a biologist or a evolutionist or somebody like that. So I cannot explain the whole thing, but this is what is there in Bhagavad Gita. I have full faith in Bhagavad Gita. I believe in intelligent design. I don't believe in Darwinism or evolution, but that's who I am. Rest, you all decide. Don't impose your thoughts on others. If you have to impose something, impose the goodness aspect, becoming a good person. Those are the easier things that you should share with others, that we should be good people. We should, those aspects you can share about from your life. You can emphasize. Don't go and pick up arguments with other people. If you are interested, I see some hands raised. I will come to that. If interested in deeper learning, you can read this book called what is that? Archaeology, Forbidden Archaeology. By one of my favorite authors, Dr. Richard L. Thompson. He is Sadaputa Prabhu, who is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, American person. His actual name was Richard L. Thompson, and Michael Cremo. And his name is Dhrutakarma Das, or Dhrutakarma Prabhu. Dhrutakarma Prabhu. So these two are very nice, scientifically minded people. Sadaputa Prabhu, or Richard L. Thompson, had a PhD in mathematics from Cornell University. I don't know about Michael Cremo or Dhrutakarma Prabhu, whether he had a PhD or not, but maybe he did. And they have done a lot of research, solid research, groundbreaking research into this whole evolution and everything, and written a book which was became banned in academic circles. The professors and all the people, they banned this book. You should not sell this book in the university bookstores, keep it in the university library and all, because it was very much against, or it was showing with evidence, with a lot of scientific research, that this whole evolution and all this theory has major problems. So you can read that book if you are interested in more knowledge. In general, many books of Dr. Richard Thompson, Sadaputa Prabhu, are very, very enlightening and interesting to read in all these topics. What else was I going to say about this? Yeah, one last point I just wanted to mention about intelligent design. One of the things that supports evolution is that we look like each other. Means, let us say a human looks like a dog. It doesn't look like a dog, but there are many common things, isn't it? If you open a dog, you will find a heart, you will find lungs, you will find teeth. A human also has lungs, heart, stomach, intestine, teeth. The structure is very similar. Yes, dog may have a tail and human has no tail. Fine. Or some changes are there. Dog may have more canine teeth and human may not have canine teeth. And things like dog walks on 4 legs, we walk on 2 legs and we have 2 hands free. All those little differences are there. So they say that, somewhere from dog came human. Or whoever is the most closest cousin, we say apes. From apes came humans. Because the features are very similar, so from an ape, you make some changes, some mutations occurred, something occurred, and suddenly you have human. by making small changes. So human came from ape. That is one of the arguments presented in favor of evolution. But this is such a, if you think about it, all of you, many of you are engineers, think about it for a few minutes, you will realize that is not the only way human can come from ape. That is like saying that I have a sedan and I have a SUV. You follow? Sedan is like a car. SUV is like a, a bigger car or whatever, where more people can sit and all. So from sedan came SUV, because both have four wheels, both have steering, both have headlights, both have this, both have that. So many things are common. So we can say SUV came from sedan. No, that's not how we know. We know there is an engineer or architect or designer, right? And he designed the sedan and he designed the SUV both. And why would he change things among the two? SUV is supposed to go in the city. Sedan is supposed to go in the city. SUV is supposed to go on hills and, for your expeditions and all those things in some more tough and rough and tough terrain. So SUV has some other features, not in the sedan, but you cannot say SUV came from a sedan, even though both have a lot of similarities. A common engineer, a designer who works in, let us say, Toyota or Honda company, he is the one who is designing. Whatever doesn't need to change, he will not change. Why SUV should have 3 wheels? Arey Baba, 4 wheels work fine. So SUV also has 4 wheels. Why change things that don't need to change? Whatever need to be changed, you can change. Isn't it? So a fish also needs to see, whether it is in water or on land. A monkey also needs to see. So both have eyes. That part shouldn't change. Both have eyes. Fish also have eyes. Monkeys have eyes. But something special is needed in a fish, like fins to swim. And for monkeys, they need something else. They need teeth or whatever else. Hands to jump from tree to tree. So they have hands. So a common designer can also design many things which look similar, but it doesn't mean those similar things came from one another. A common designer can design very much similar things, like an engineer designs a truck, a car, a SUV, tractor. So many things can be designed by the same designer. It doesn't mean that one comes from the other. So I'm just saying this is one of the very strong points that is made by the evolutionists, that, oh, they look similar, so one must have come from the other. That is not a very good argument. Okay, at this point, let us take some questions. I think I have covered many aspects of this evolution Darwinism. Let's see if there is anything else I wanted to cover. Okay, so Karthi Prabhu, you had your hand raised.
Prabhu, what I wanted to ask now, the Darwin's theory is for the body. Now we are thinking about Krishna. He has given a spirit. The spirit was, Darwin didn't talk about the spirit. He was talking about the material concept, how the amoeba all bodily. And we said that we can be, if you are done, we can take a birth of dog. We can take a birth of, that is all depends on our karma. So we can become a karma dog or inferior or insect or something like that. So that, but that bodily we are coming. But the real concept, the real essence is a God has given the real essence, and then the evolution came after the body came, because Darwin's theory is also upon the fittest of survival of the fittest. So that's what each one is developed in that sense. Now you spoke about that the SUV and the Sada, the 2 cars, or there are plenty of cars, various cars. But the real concept, or scooter or motorbike, the real concept, the compact, the essence of working that principle, the vehicle moving, compassion engine. It's from that concept only all that vehicles were designed. So later they designed a better vehicle, expensive vehicle, later cheaper vehicle. So that is the outer design of the body and all that. But the real essence of locomotion was motorized, was the engine was designed originally. The same concept is carried to all these vehicles. So similarly, the spirit is different from the body. We said we are not Sariram.
Okay.
We are not Sariram. We are inside. We are really thinking about the soul. So the soul is created by God, but this evolution is taking the body.
Okay. So I would request.
That's the way I'm thinking. I don't know. I might be wrong. So can you enlighten me on that?
It was a very, very long question. Next time, I would request you to write down your question for your own understanding of the question itself. So your question, the essence of your question is that the essence is Jiva, and the Jiva takes on several bodies based on one's karma across various lives. But these bodies are a result of evolution. And can I explain this? That is the essence of your question as I understood. All right. If you have a different question, once we go through the rest of the questions, you can restate it in a summarized way. This is how I understood your question.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's what I'm.
Okay, great. Let me answer now. So yes, essence is Jiva. Jiva is the soul, which is taking on several bodies. The only thing I am mentioning here that even the bodies there in the 4th verse, Lord Krishna is talking about sarva yonishu murtayaha sambhavanti. So the murtayaha means the forms of the various yonis, with hands, with 4 legs, with fins, with tails, with whatever things that you see in the various branches and leaves and fruits, all are part of the sarva yonishu murtayaha. They are also created by God. There is no proof of evolution within the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna is saying, Aham bija pradah pita, which means I am the direct father. It is not like I am the beginning of the chain and everything else is coming by evolution. I'm just making the point that some people say like that. Okay, we will put God in the beginning, rest is all evolution. Why would Krishna say, Aham bija pradah pita? Bija pradah means seed giving, which means I am the direct father. I am not the grandfather, great grandfather. We can say that, we are all children of Brahma. So like that is not substantiated. I am the seed-giving father for every species. Sarva yonishu murtayaha. That is all I was explaining. Even the several bodies, they don't come from evolution. They come from Krishna. And Jiva is also coming from Krishna. That is absolutely correct. This is the superior energy, Tatastha Shakti. In 7.5, chapter 7, verse 5, Lord Krishna says, this is the Parashakti. And the bodies are made of the Aparashakti, the eight elements of the material nature, Bhumir, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kha, Mana, Buddhi, Ahankar. So that is one classification of this is known as the Aparashakti. So both are coming from Krishna, and a living entity takes form in the material world when a jiva enters a body. but the Jiva and the material body are both coming from Krishna. I was just making a point that the body aspect of it, there are so many types of bodies, they are all directly coming from Krishna. That was the point being made. There is no evolution on this side of things. All right. As per Bhagavad Gita, as per Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So I hope that answers your question. Or what was the point I was explaining. It's not that only Jiva comes from Krishna, the bodies come from through evolution or through some other process. Krishna is the architect, designer, engineer, everything of the bodies as well. Aham bija pradah pita of the sarva yoneshu murtayaha. I am the direct father of all the forms of species, or of all the species, of all the designs of the various species. I have kind of translated the Sanskrit to English. So I hope that answers your question. Yes, Neeru Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I just have a curiosity, not really very important question. When the universe destroys, then you said that all jivas goes inside the Lord, and then they come on another universe. So just a curiosity that when they come back on another universe, do they come in the same form, or that also, happens after the event? I mean,
no, the karma also. Okay. The karma also goes with them. So it is not that the jiva only goes. So the karma also goes, and basically it is a continuation. There is a small, you can say, disruption in their, here I will use the word evolution, but not that Darwinian evolution, but evolution from one body to another reincarnation. There is a small disruption, but then they continue based on their karma. Okay. So at one point, let us say if the next life was going to be a dog, and then the universe was destroyed, they go into the body of Mahavishnu. Next life, in whichever universe, they will become a dog or whatever, they're according to their karma. So karma is preserved. It is not wiped off.
Okay.
The wiping off of karma happens only by bhakti.
Okay.
Otherwise, karma continues. It doesn't leave you. Indra Gupta Mataji.
I have a confusion. As you said, and I understand that Lord Krishna is the Bij Pradata, direct father. Suppose a dog is there, and out of his karma, he is getting promotion to human being. Then how the characteristic of the seed gets change?
Okay. I will ask you to maybe rephrase the question, but first of all, the point.
For example, Jad Bharat story, if we take, from human being, it becomes deer.
Yes.
So the property of the seed, which was implanted by Lord Krishna, how that gets changed?
Okay, couple of things, Mataji, I will just clarify, and we can go a little bit back and forth on the follow-up. In a animal body,
yes.
Now Jad Bharat and the deer in the Jad Bharat you might have seen is a special deer. He was endowed with special
memory
and memory and all that. Yes. So that is separate. But in general, in an animal body, animal do not attract any karma. They are going through the cycle of animal species, and then finally they come to the human form of life when they get a chance to either go up or down. That is when a free choice is there, because there is a understanding of right and wrong, what is given in 16th chapter by Lord Krishna, that karya akarya vyavasthitau. So he says, according to the Shastra, one must determine what is to be done and what is not to be done. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya akarya vyavasthitau. So in a human body, you can read Shastra and you can get an understanding of what to do and what not to do. And if you make the right choices, you go up spiritually, otherwise you go down into, or you go into higher species, or you go into lower species. So now you mentioned that as a dog, there is no karma, but so what really was your question?
My confusion is, say आम के पेड़ से, आम के बीज से आम ही निकलना है.
Yes.
How that gets changed?
So okay, a human being does some karma. Okay.
Yes.
Based on his karma, he is then entitled, we can say, or he is awarded certain number of non-human births.
Yes.
And then he takes those human births. There is no karma as a tree or as a dog. That is endowed in the beginning itself based on one's karma, which he has accumulated. And then he goes through a certain number of non-human species, and after which he takes a human life again. So that is preordained.
No, my confusion is, if Lord Krishna is direct father, so he is giving seed in different.
Hold on. So he is the father of all the sarva yonishu murtayaha, which means that all these murtis, all these forms of the species, they are coming from Krishna. So the form is coming from Krishna. The jiva, the living entity, is going from one murti to another murti to another murti based on his karma.
So seed is jiva.
Yeah.
Seed is jiva. Well, jiva, yeah, I mean,
Looks like that.
no. So Lord Krishna is giving, the jivas are coming from Krishna, and the various murtis are coming from Krishna as well.
Okay.
Both are coming from Krishna. The jiva is not impregnating the murti. The jiva is entering the murti, just like in second chapter it is said, as a person wear clothes. Okay. So jiva as well as the bodies, they are both coming from Krishna. But the jiva goes through a cycle of taking on various bodies depending on his karma. So that's what I have stated. Do you have a question in the way I have stated?
My confusion is that body is given by Krishna and jiva is also given, is coming from Krishna. Then how they get combined? Which body the jiva is going to?
Based on the karma.
Yeah. So that is jiva's decision, or again that is decided by Krishna?
No, the karma is jiva's decision. The choice to do certain karma is jiva's decision. The consequence is given by Krishna. He has a minister called Yamaraj, who will decide, okay, you did this karma, the consequence is this. So absolutely there is complete free will.
Got it clear. Thank you.
The consequence of the free will is not in our hands. We cannot kill someone and say, oh, I want to go free. No, killing or not was in your hands, like a criminal. The punishment will be in the judge's hands. You cannot dictate that. So the government has created the you can say the jail or the whatever, places, and he has created the laws, and they have created you. You are supposed to live nicely according to the laws. Otherwise, the government itself, who has created all these things, will make sure you go in the right place based on your karma. So the body and jiva are both coming from Krishna. Even the law of karma is coming from Krishna. And based on your free choices as a jiva in the human body, Krishna decides which next body, which is created by him, should you go reside in.
Thank you.
I mean, it feels like it's clear in my mind, and I have tried to convey it to you.
Got it clear. Thank you.
All right, great. Niru Mataji, you were trying to say something, or?
Yeah, I was just saying, she was saying is seed. So jiva is, without any material characters. So when you say body has a material characters.
Yes.
So the spirit or the jiva can be placed into various characteristics forms.
Yes.
And that's how we have to see it, I guess.
Yes, yes, correct. The jiva is Satchid Ananda. It is always very pure and transcendental. And it cannot mix. The jiva never gets mixed with gunas, but it gets covered by the gunas. Okay. And very nice example that is given in Shastra is that raindrop, which is very pure, when it falls from the sky, when it goes into the mud, it appears that the raindrop has become muddy. But the raindrop is pure, just that it gets mixed with mud, or we can say it gets covered with mud, so to say. So the raindrop is pure. It is just that because it is in the muddy situation, it appears that the raindrop itself has become contaminated. Okay, but rainwater remains rainwater. It remains pure. It doesn't dissolve. The mud doesn't dissolve into the raindrop. So that is the example given in the Shastras. All right. I think there was some comment on the chat. Let me see what it is. Yeah. So somebody is saying, Medha Mataji, that 4 things are eternal: Bhagawan, Jiva, Prakriti, and Kala. And karma is temporary and can be destroyed. Is this correct? Oh, yes, that is absolutely correct. Yes. Karma can be destroyed. Okay, so we will stop here. So what we accomplished today, by the way, if there are any other last minute questions. Okay, so we will stop here. What we accomplished today is that we did a pretty detailed overview of the 14th chapter and the key concepts of 14th chapter. And we covered 4 verses. And we also covered an important point in 14.4, which is the refutation of Darwinian evolution. So that's what we covered. Announcements are, we will have a class next week. So on the 30th, we are starting a new batch, a fast-paced batch. A fast-paced batch. We will complete it in about 5 months' time. 1 chapter a week. So about 18 chapters means 18 or 20 weeks is my plan to cover everything. And you can yourself join it to get a review or a quicker, fast-paced overview of Bhagavad Gita. Also, please invite your friends and neighbors and whoever else you may know to that, and they can sign up for that. Any other announcement? We will have our Ishopanishad class tomorrow, same time. And that's it. Okay. So those were the announcements. All right. If nothing else, we will call it a day here. Thank you very much. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Renuka
Prabhuji.
Mataji, can you stay on for some time?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
One second.
Just in my,
Hare Krishna,
my
Prabhu. Thank
mind.
you.
Do you want it to record or not? The question.
No, that's okay. I don't want to record. Just
Okay, hold on. Hare Krishna.